Conscience, what is it? It's close to consciousness. This is Wakia thunder. Um, been thinking about that one today, consciousness and conscience, and how, some people seem to have a conscience and other people don't, or what is a conscience? Many people have talked about this. I kind of come from a shamanistic point of view, so don't expect what I say. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You're going to have to just make up your own mind. But I was thinking about conscience today and how devoid of conscience certain kind of conscience people are. Like caring if you offend somebody, or reverence in a sense. But it's such a fine line, because I'm not for the kind of conscience where it makes you feel guilty if you're going to go to hell and burn in hell and that type of thing if you don't do this and don't do that. Right and wrong, good and evil, yin and yang, all that stuff. But yet we still see things in the world, no matter what we label them as, that are distasteful to some of us. That doesn't seem right. Kind of comes from what we call a gut feeling, but could be an intuitive feeling. Now, Jung, one of the great psychologists, which is spelled Jung for those who don't know, talked about this all the time. In fact, Freud, who was another psychoanalyst, the two main ones that everything's kind of based on, I kind of lean towards Jung myself, because he was into the I Ching, but he talked about conscience, and he discussed it and wondered about it, and searched for answers concerning the conscience. Was it inbred in us? Is it inbred, or is it? This is the question that he postulated. Was it inbred? Do we have an inbred conscience, or is it learned? Do we learn it through schooling, societal norms, religion, all that good stuff? I kind of go with the feeling that there's an innate, and you can call it conscience, or you can call it, how about moral compass? In those of us who seem to be more enlightened or more awake. Enlightenment means just there's more light in the situation and you can see. Shamanism is kind of like a style. It's holy. It's a conglomeration of different practices and viewpoints, and it's like a soup, okay? And the person that practices shamanism uses all the different ingredients to come to certain conclusions. And most of it is intuitive. Now, this conscience thing we see in the world today is people are devoid of a certain kind of conscience. I'll repeat that. I'll get back to that. And that's the kind that has compassion for their fellow man, or maybe the golden rule of Yeshua, which is, the Good Samaritan, or treat your brother as you would like to be treated, that type of thing. I basically call it not intruding on other people's space. And if you can help that other person, why not? Wouldn't you want help? It's kind of a basic thing that you got to go on, Would you want help? You have to ask yourself, would you want somebody to help you? Would you want somebody to have your back? And would you want somebody to have a conscience in regards to you? How about that one? Would you want somebody else to have a certain kind of conscience in regards to you and how they treat you. Think about that one, because that seems to get to the core of it. Now, I don't see that too much anymore or at all. Well, I see it. I see it to degrees in people, but it's almost like conscience being related to consciousness, unless you have, okay, now let's put the two together here. Let's put the two together. Let's say that consciousness, let's say you're at a higher level of consciousness, and so you see things with that conscience. Okay? You see things with that conscience. Bear with me here. So if you're at a certain level of consciousness, let's say you have a higher level of consciousness, you're going to have a different kind of conscience. Okay? Because you have transcended duality, and you can see duality. And you can see what most people call conscience, which is a phony conscience. Okay, bear with me. But the real conscience comes from that consciousness, that higher enlightened view, the big picture that I've talked about before. So you can see the whole thing. Okay, you see the people with a lower set of consciousness, or that consciousness which is devoid of mercy, compassion, love, caring a fellow man, caring of the planet. That kind of conscience, which is basically none at all almost. None of that higher conscience. So you have to see the divisions here. You have to see the divisions. You have to see that the masses have programmed, have been programmed a conscience. And I'm not saying all those are bad, because some people are raised in fundamentalist organizations or religions where they actually do, if they're not hypocritical, they do practice having a good conscience about their fellow man. That's good. Even if it is instilled in a belief system that's I might not agree with. I don't agree with the part of condemnation and fear and guilt and holding things over people's heads. So the reason that I don't is because I'm coming from that higher enlightened conscience. Okay? Hope you can grasp this. And you can ascend and descend, okay? And you can take on different energies, and you can take on different viewpoints. But when you look at the whole big picture, all these different viewpoints and all these different energies and all these different things are really all one. It's just all part of the cosmos. So when we're caught down here in this duality, we're seeing things that are like, whoa, man, I don't like that. And it's just a gut reaction. And I think that that's kind of primal. It's kind of like that primordial consciousness, primordial. What I'm trying to explain cannot be put in words. Let me just say that right now. Whatever words I spew out here, in a shamanistic fashion, you just grab a hold of what you like, or let's say it sparks you off into a certain direction thinking about something. That's all I'm here for. That's all I'm really here for. That's all I do. That's my purpose, is to come on here and be a spark to your consciousness or conscience or whatever. You don't have to agree with me 100%. You're not going to agree with me 100%. If you do, you're rare. We're very kindred then. I'd like to meet you, but I doubt that most people are going to agree 100% with me. And I don't think that that's abnormal, that there's anything wrong with them. I'm coming from, when you get to this level, it's almost like a contradictory space, okay? And how do you explain that to somebody, that it's really not a contradiction, it's just a higher way of looking at things? For instance, in reality, in this reality or this illusion, certain things are right or wrong, good or bad. We hate this, this politician, and this one's better, or we don't like this country, or we don't like what's going on, or we don't like what's being done to people, or we don't like this, or we don't like that. We form opinions, we take sides, we do all that stuff, all right? In the duality here, and we talk about conscience like I'm talking about, and different levels of conscience. But when you get beyond this, who gives a shit? When you get beyond, I mean, that's a rough way of saying it. That's a rough way of saying, look at it for what it is. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. Okay? You're detached if you're enlightened. You see right and wrong, good and evil, this guy's bad, this guy. It's just the yin-yang, the interplay of the Taoist elements, or the elements of the universe or the cosmos. Now let's go one step further here, okay, and talk about love. Now love, to me, is what it's really all about, except most people don't understand love. They don't understand how it's all connected: sexual, erotic, spiritual, principled, all the loves, or the things that we like, or that are good. Did you know that good comes from the word God? Love, okay. To me, the highest that you can go, as far as I know, than what Thunder knows, is love. And that would be supreme love coming from above. Okay, or coming from that higher consciousness, which is your consciousness approaching new heights and reaching out to Wu Ji or Wu Ji or the Tao or the Ancient of Ancients, and having it just, which is really the cosmos, funneling the cosmos down through you, through all your different layers, okay, auric layers of different colors corresponding to the energy centers in your body, the chakras. That's what it's about. Okay? That higher self. The higher self. And love. It's about love. And love tends to color whatever glasses you have on in your head, that you filter what you see as reality out here through this filter that you've been programmed in your head. Okay, you gotta let that filter be love. That's a conscience. That's a good conscience to me. I hope you're following me. And if you're not, just take certain things out of here, splice out what you like and throw away what you don't, because you're never going to understand me. And if you do, like I said before, you're on my wavelength and I want to meet you. But nobody's going to understand Wakia unless they're on Wakia's level, or not that I'm above anybody. I'm not. Because when you get to that point of realization, you realize that there is no above and below anybody. Okay, we're all one. It's just some people have more facility at channeling spirit, okay, and channeling the energy out there that's going to bring about a marriage of all these different beautiful selves, okay, lower self, personality self, spirit self, soul self, oversoul self, ultimate self. And what is that ultimate self? Some people call it God. Some people call it God. That's what they call it. Ultimate self will do. Think of it as the ultimate self. Think of it as you opening consecutive doors through this gross physical manifestation to the ultimate self. And acceptance of everything that you are is the only way that you can open these doors. Acceptance of the fact and realization of the fact of all the different components that make up selves, okay? Because there's many selves in all of us. Or there's many parts of the self, however you want to look at it. So when you get to this level, when you get to this way of looking at things, it is all a striving after the wind. It is all grasping the wind. And these people, that's why people that are enlightened or see things have an obligation to tell people that see nothing at all how they feel. And you can put any kind of label on that person that you want. Soothsayer, nut, conspiracy theorist, nutcase, good person, bad person, shaman, tinker, tailor, soldier, spy, you know. Whatever role you want to assign to yourself or others. So when we watch things like what's going down in the world today, we watch it as a interested observer. We try not to get caught up in it, because as soon as you get caught up in it, then you've lowered your consciousness just a tad bit. Although you can do it in here's another thing, you can get caught up in it, realize you're caught up in it, and have fun with it. Think about that one. Just like you can realize a partner or a sexual relationship and get caught up in it. It's down here in the duality, right? And it's kind of a game. Maybe one of the biggest games there is. So if you can do that, you can get caught up in any game, you know. But you make it fun. I'm coming to that realization. Just because everything's shitty doesn't mean you got to suffer. Maybe that'll go down in history as a profound proverb. Just because everything's shitty doesn't mean you have to suffer. So anyway, I thought I'd talk about that stuff today. Just uh, in a straightforward way. You know, kind of let your hair down day here. Just talking in a straightforward way here. Thunder, Wakia, the enigma of YouTube. How did he make it on here? They'll probably leave me alone. I'm so esoteric. You know, it's like, oh, he's just a nut job, man. Don't pay any attention to him. Good. Look at me that way. I love it. Just a nut job, crazy Indian on there talking bullshit. Crazy earth person, Indian, award-winning author. Person that's walking on the earth and cares about others, loves others. How do you define thunder? Well, if I could define myself, I would say that I'd come from the heart. That's why I named my book that. Did you know that there's a part of, they say that there's a part of your brain, okay, that's in your heart. There's a part of your brain that's in your heart, and your heart thinks. Maybe that's the seat of consciousness, or conscience, or both. Maybe that heartfelt feeling, maybe that's where the conscience, the good conscience of wanting to do and joining with others' hearts, maybe that's where that comes from. Maybe that's why the Lakota say Chante Ishte, which means from the one eye of the heart. Think about that, the one eye of the heart. The one eye of the heart. Okay, I'll leave it there. That's some food for thought, okay? And so I'm out of here. This is Thunder. Vaya con Dios. Adios.